Being stared at by the Blood Demon Emperor, over 100 Undyings and over 1,000 sector lords, this formless pressure was extremely shocking. However, LuoFeng had after all been through a lot. Back then the Undying army under Nine-Blade Knight, the raging fire-eroding knight's pressure was much more terrifying than this. Looks like this is a show of strength. LuoFeng thought. Your Majesty. Dylan communicated from the side, let's keep a low profile and bear with it. Understood. LuoFeng replied. At this time the Blood Demon Emperor laughed loudly, LuoFeng and the other Undyings, don't stand outside, come follow me in. Simultaneously he passionately grabbed LuoFeng's hand and headed straight for the palace. LuoFeng was shocked and could only obediently follow in. Dylan, the white-browed winged old man and the other two followed, the vast crowd of Undyings and sector lords followed too. Lord. Beautiful female servants could be seen everywhere in the palace, all kneeling respectfully. Come LuoFeng, take a look at my palace. The main body of this Blood Demon Palace is an ancient and broken palace I found in a universe secret realm in a distant star field. I renovated and decorated it to become this Blood Demon Palace. The Blood Demon King pointed at the surroundings. Just the repairs and decorations cost me tens of millions of mixed elements. Even though LuoFeng could feel the special energy within the palace, he couldn't understand it at all. He could only smile and agree, it's indeed extraordinary. It is indeed extraordinary. The white-browed winged old man pointed around. This palace itself is a castle, and after being renovated and infused with a metal life form, I'm afraid in terms of defense and battle power, it's much stronger than those F9 grade universe ships. Haha. The Blood Demon Emperor laughed happily. Men. The Blood Demon Emperor suddenly shouted. Immediately 3 Undyings from the group of warriors behind stepped forward. Go, bring those 21 criminals here. The Blood Demon Emperor ordered. Yes. The 3 Undyings replied respectfully. This scene shocked LuoFeng within. They had just entered the palace, and they already brought those 21 criminals here. Wouldn't that make the situation even more tense? LuoFeng, I respect your teacher Tru Yen a lot. It's a pity that after countless years he's always been in Primal Chaos City, I never had the chance to see your teacher's absolute power, it's a pity. The Blood Demon King sighed, you are the disciple of Tru Yen King, so you are also my junior. This is your first time here. Judging those 21 sinners is a small matter, we can talk about it later. I've already prepared a feast for you, LuoFeng. Come with me. The Blood Demon King led the way. LuoFeng could only follow. After a while, they walked to a large banquet hall, the Undyings and sector lords all remained within. Blood Demon Emperor, LuoFeng, Dylan, the white-browed winged old man and the other 6 entered an exquisite small hall. Within it was a table that was almost transparent blue jade, along with many intricately carved chairs. The 6 of them sat down. Serve the dishes, the Blood Demon King ordered. Immediately beautiful female servants carried plates of delicacies. The dishes were brought up, wine, delicacies, everything was of high quality. This is the demon tablet dragon's liver? The white-browed winged old man was shocked. This is the flame snow spirit juice again? Everyone else was shocked as they looked at the plates of delicacies on the table. There were many delicacies on Earth, and in the vast and mysterious universe, there were even more ingredients and delicacies. LuoFeng and the others often tasted delicacies in the virtual universe. It was 100% simulated and the price was much cheaper. However, eating in the virtual universe the feeling was different, at least this table of delicacies. Even in the virtual universe it was still extremely expensive. This table should have at least 100,000 mixed elements. The white-browed winged old man looked at the Blood Demon King. We've really made you spend a lot. Haha, as long as you're happy eating, the moment I see LuoFeng this is nothing. The Blood Demon King said straightforwardly. Dylan and LuoFeng exchanged glances. This was nothing? What a joke. 100,000 mixed elements, even for an Emperor-level Undying, that wealth was accumulated over a long period of time. A normal Undying's entire wealth was only about 10,000 mixed elements. Even the 2 Undyings captured this time in terms of value, probably didn't even reach 100,000 mixed elements. Why did the Blood Demon King spend so much? Just for those 2 Undyings? No. Those 2 Undyings didn't have that value, it was mainly for face. After all, the Virtual Universe Company forced the Blood Demon King to capture 21 of his underlings. This indeed infuriated the Blood Demon King. He didn't want the Undyings under him to be cold-hearted, hence he had to think of a way to protect the lives of those 2 Undyings. Spending 100,000 mixed elements? To an Emperor Pinnacle warrior like him, he didn't care. I, the Blood Demon King, have such high strength, such a high position, yet I've lowered my status and warmly received this punk, even getting 100,000 mixed elements for a table of incomparably luxurious delicacies to receive you. Even the Blood Demon King himself wouldn't be so extravagant, to receive you like that. You LuoFeng, aren't you embarrassed? His actions were simple, but very effective. LuoFeng looked at the luxurious delicacies on the table before him, however he didn't dare to eat. I've eaten from others, I've eaten from others. LuoFeng thought, the Blood Demon King has lowered his status like that. If I were to eat from this table of delicacies worth 100,000 mixed elements, when I judge later, how would I be embarrassed? Come, try this tablet spirit dragon liver, it's definitely delicious, even your soul will feel refreshed after eating it. This time I knew you were coming, I used the God Country's teleportation to get people to send the tablet spirit dragon liver as fast as possible, the ingredients are the freshest. the Blood Demon King said. Luo Feng didn't eat, neither did Dylan. On the other hand, the white-browed winged old man and the other two were gorging themselves, all of them eating happily. Delicious, delicious. The white-browed feathered old man exclaimed. This time we've taken advantage of you, Luo Feng. Otherwise we wouldn't even have such an honor. Our entire wealth isn't even enough to eat this table. Beside him, the two normal Undyings nodded and praised. These three. Luo Feng was furious. These three were purely messing with him. Try it. The Blood Demon King looked expectantly at Luo Feng. Under the gaze of the Blood Demon King, how could Luo Feng not eat? He could only move his chopsticks and eat a little, after which he shook his head. Please forgive me, Blood Demon King, I really can't eat anymore. I've been thinking about the Virtual Universe Company's mission. I won't force you. The Blood Demon King smiled. At this time, the banquet hall outside suddenly became noisy. The Blood Demon King frowned and ordered, "Open the door." Yes. The maid, who was always on standby, went to open the door. Immediately, even though Luo Feng and his group sat at the table, through the door, they could still see the commotion in the banquet hall outside. There were 21 warriors bound in chains, especially the two humans emitting origin law energy. Their chains were obviously different. There were complex engravings on them, obviously sealing engravings. Killing an Undying was very hard. Sealing was much easier. Defeating them was even easier than sealing them, and it was obvious that those two Undyings were bound by special chains. Lord. The two bound Undyings knelt down, the 19 sector lords beside two knelt down. Sitting at the head of the table, the Blood Demon King slammed the table fiercely, roaring, "It's too late to regret now. Lord, we've been wrong. We're filled with regret now, please give us a chance." The two Undyings cried. Obviously these two knew, their lives were hanging by a thread, plus they were begging the Blood Demon King. Naturally they didn't care about their face. They were clear that this was a huge calamity. After all, it was the Virtual Universe Company's order. If they weren't careful, their souls would be destroyed. Give you a chance? The Blood Demon King stood up fiercely, roaring, "If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have done it back then. What's more, the one deciding your fate today isn't me, but this Luo Feng from the Virtual Universe Company. If you want something, you have to beg him. Your Majesty, Luo Feng. Lord Luo Feng." The two Undyings knelt down and actually began to beg. The 19 sector lords beside were filled with pleading looks, unable to speak at all. Luo Feng immediately guessed, to the Blood Demon King, that level of being sector lords aren't much. Those 19 sector lords are controlled too. They can't even speak. Obviously, the ones the Blood Demon King truly wants to protect are the two Undyings. As for the 19 sector lords, I'll deal with them however I want. Knowing that they could very well die, the two Undyings sincerely begged. You too. The Blood Demon King walked away from his seat and walked out of the guest hall, arriving before the two Undyings in the large hall, sighing softly, gently patting their shoulders. Aesop, you two have followed me for so long, I don't want you two to die. However, I have no choice this time, it all depends on your fate. After which he shook his head and walked back. Luo Feng. The Blood Demon King sighed. These two have followed me for over 10,000 years, to say I have no feelings for them would be a lie. However, go ahead and judge them. I just hope that under the Virtual Universe Company's orders, I'll give them a chance to live. After all, they are Undyings. Every Undying is humanity's treasure. Giving birth to one isn't easy. In the grand banquet hall, the elegant guest hall quietened down. Only the Blood Demon King was acting. Luo Feng looked at this scene. How could he not understand the Blood Demon King's intentions? The Blood Demon King's words were too obvious, even though it didn't seem like he was forcing Luo Feng. In truth, he had already made it clear to Luo Feng. Give me some face, let these two Undyings go, the other 19 are yours to deal with, at least you'll be able to account for yourself. Luo Feng, you go judge them and the other 21. The Blood Demon King said, sitting in the chair beside Luo Feng. Yes, Blood Demon King. Luo Feng replied respectfully, after which he turned to look at the 21 kneeling criminals. Luo Feng's gaze landed on the 21 criminals, his eyes unable to hide the rage within. Guilty. These 21 deserve to die. The actions of these 21 chosen by the Virtual Universe Company were outrageous. They had long exceeded the limit set by the 5 great powers. And these were all discovered. There were probably even more that hadn't been discovered yet. Ayo Fei. Luo Feng shouted. His voice resounded throughout the entire banquet hall, reverberating within. That golden messy-haired barbaric man who was kneeling looked up, his eyes filled with pleading as he looked at Luo Feng, wanting to speak yet unable to. LuoFeng's eyes gleamed coldly, begging at this time? Was he afraid? When he made over 10 billion girls die in the Blood Demon ceremony, when did he care about their pleas? When he built the Blood Ocean, when did he care about the pleas of countless lives? I sentence you to death. Luo Feng said coldly, death penalty. Ah. Ayo Fei struggled with all his might, opening his mouth to shout, however he could barely make out a sound, unable to speak at all. Rumble. The white-browed winged old man who was smiling beside the table immediately rushed into the hall, standing behind the 21 kneeling people. With a wave of his palm, the undying energy condensed into a palm and slapped the despairing Ayo Fei. Ayo Fei's entire body immediately turned into meat paste, large amounts of items scattered all over the ground, obviously the items left behind from the internal world's collapse. Ayo Fei dead. The Virtual Universe Company has long given the order. The white-browed winged old man smiled as he looked at the enraged Undyings and over 1,000 sector lords. The moment your majesty Luo Feng sentences these 21 to death, I will personally execute it. The 100 Undyings and over 1,000 sector lords all trembled when they heard the name Virtual Universe Company. Even though they hated within, they didn't dare speak. Humph, don't disturb Luo Feng's judgment. The very calm Blood Demon Emperor snorted angrily. These 21 criminals will be judged by Luo Feng, who deserves to die, who deserves to live. Only Luo Feng can make the decision. Everyone else is forbidden from interfering. Yes. Over 1,000 warriors replied respectfully. Luo Feng, continue. The Blood Demon King glanced at Luo Feng, his eyes slightly cold. Even though he didn't care about the other 19 people, if Luo Feng could let them live, he would naturally be happier. However, he didn't expect that the first person Luo Feng judged would be sentenced to death. Of course he wasn't happy. Next, Luo Feng's gaze landed on another sector lord, Koski. That skinny man with a mane on his face trembled slightly, looking pleadingly at Luo Feng. I sentence you. Luo Feng said coldly, death. Sector Lord Kasai had a look of despair on his face. At this moment, the white-browed winged old man slapped him, turning him into meat paste. Instantly, large amounts of items scattered around. Death penalty. Death penalty. Death penalty. Death penalty. Death penalty. Death penalty. Sentences were pronounced one after another. One by one, the sector lords were slapped to death. The treasures of the sector lords piled up again and again. There were even universe ships piled up, forming a small mountain. Silence, pressure. The atmosphere seemed to freeze. Luo Feng's 19 consecutive death sentences made the over 100 Undyings and over 1,000 sector lords in the hall spit fire in their eyes. Even the Blood Demon Emperor's killing intent around him got heavier. However, he endured it. The only ones who died were sector lords. This Luo Feng is vicious. It's fine if you're vicious, it's fine if you kill those 19. Aesop and Applard, I don't think you have the guts to kill them. The Blood Demon Emperor looked at Luo Feng silently, not saying a word. There were only two left kneeling there. Two Undyings, Aesop and Applard. Aesop. Luo Feng's gaze landed on the Undying Aesop, his eyes gleaming. Looking at the information of these two Undyings, Luo Feng had a feeling that these two Undyings had already treated themselves as true gods that stood above countless humans. They slaughtered humans, ravaged them, taking pleasure in them, not even treating them as living beings. They were high above, almost as though they treated humans like ants, like they were a different race. I sentence you. Luo Feng's voice was filled with determination. Death. No. Aesop looked up fiercely, his eyes filled with madness. Rumble. Following which Aesop became a beam of light and rushed at Luo Feng, simultaneously roaring, You have no right to kill me. Courting death. The white-browed winged old man's expression changed. Even though Aesop was bound by the chains and couldn't use his undying energy, an Undying's body alone was enough to kill a sector lord. Panicking, the white-browed winged old man immediately flew over to block. Rumble. A giant blood-red palm appeared out of thin air and slammed into Aesop. Aesop's entire body was smashed into smithereens. This Aesop hadn't reached the Undying body level. With just one attack, all his soul imprints were shattered. He was beyond dead, his soul dispersed. Silence, the banquet hall was silent. Everyone looked at the Blood Demon King in fear. Even Luo Feng looked at the Blood Demon King in shock. The one who attacked just now was the powerful Blood Demon King. Presumptuous. The killing aura around the Blood Demon Emperor rumbled, raging, daring to clash with the Virtual Universe Company's people. Death is not to be regretted. Luo Feng, continue to judge Applard. I believe you. You will definitely have a very fair trial. The word fair was heavily emphasized. Applard. Luo Feng turned to look at Applard. Your Majesty Luo Feng. Applard too looked at Luo Feng. Everyone in the entire hall looked at Luo Feng. The killing aura around the Blood Demon Emperor grew even stronger. The atmosphere was extremely tense. I sentence you. Luo Feng's voice was as always, death. Ah. Applard immediately howled. Chi. This time, the white-browed winged old man was already prepared. He held a huge curved blade in his hand and instantly slashed at Applard. Countless wind blades instantly cut Applard into thousands of pieces. The undying god power even crushed Applard's powder-like body into pieces again, causing his soul to dissipate. The white-browed winged old man wielded the huge scimitar and smiled at Luo Feng. However, no one else present could laugh, especially the 100 Undyings who were already enraged. The 1,000 sector lords were all gritting their teeth. As for the Blood Demon Emperor, even though he just sat there without moving, his raging killing aura had already engulfed the entire hall. Peng? The Blood Demon Emperor fiercely slammed the table. The table and all the delicacies on it were immediately turned into dust. Luo Feng. The Blood Demon Emperor looked coldly at Luo Feng. Luo Feng could feel the cold mask of the Blood Demon Emperor's eyes that made one's heart palpitate. Your judgment is very fair, very fair. The Blood Demon Emperor laughed coldly. Since you've already done your job, I won't keep you. Blood Demon Emperor. Luo Feng bowed respectfully. This is a test the Virtual Universe Company gave me. It's very important. I hope the Blood Demon Emperor will forgive me. The Blood Demon Emperor snorted coldly. He immediately became a blood-red blur and vanished. Obviously he had already left. At this time, the Blood Demon Emperor didn't even want to look at Luo Feng anymore. If Luo Feng didn't have the Virtual Universe Company behind him, he would probably be so angry he would kill Luo Feng. Your Majesty, Luo Feng's judgment is indeed fair. The white-browed winged old man smiled. The third mission has been completed. My business is concluded, I'll leave first. Dylan, let's go. Luo Feng said directly. Yes. Dylan replied. So, Luo Feng and Dylan became two beams of light and rushed out of the palace. After which they rushed into the sky and broke through the atmosphere, sitting on the Unimo planet ship and entering the dark universe, swiftly leaving. Bastard. Bastard. Damn it. Damn it. The Blood Demon Emperor roared. He was furious. Even though Luo Feng seemed to have explained, the Blood Demon Emperor still couldn't get rid of the rage within. What kind of status did he have? Seeking refuge under any of the Universe Knights would mean becoming the #1 Emperor Undying under them. Such a status would indeed allow one to dominate the universe countries. This time, they had lowered themselves to welcome them passionately, and even prepared such a grand banquet. Yet the result was such? This Luo Feng, who does he think he is? I gave him face and treated him passionately, yet he dared to humiliate me like that. The Blood Demon Emperor clenched his fists, cracking sounds could be heard. The Unimo planet ship was flying continuously in the dark universe. Within the ship's control room. You can still laugh. Dylan couldn't help but say, that Blood Demon Emperor lowered his status to welcome you and even prepared such a banquet. You actually killed all 21 of them. This is a naked slap in the face. Babata's shrill voice resounded within the control room. Still laughing. Dylan looked at Luo Feng. Luo Feng smiled as he sat there. I've already done it, what's the use of regretting? His heart was like a mirror, seeing through all illusions. When he first saw the third mission, Luo Feng was indeed speechless. The Virtual Universe Company was indeed forcing him. The Virtual Universe Company's actions were obviously humiliating the Blood Demon Emperor, causing him to be filled with rage. Against such a raging Blood Demon Emperor, for Luo Feng to go to the Blood Demon planet to judge him. Just how insidious was this mission? Luo Feng had thought about it seriously and saw through the many problems. He swiftly made a decision. These 21 were all sentenced to death. After which the Blood Demon Emperor lowered his status and the banquet, none of them affected Luo Feng at all. As a person, one should know when to yield. However, if one always yields, one will become a coward. Hence, when one has no choice but to yield, one will yield and reveal one's true strength. Luo Feng was very clear on this point. If one bends too much, one will truly become a hunchback. A man should know when to yield. Han Xian had also experienced the humiliation of being between his legs. However, if Han Xian was humiliated daily, would he still be a hero? If Luo Feng was threatened with death, Luo Feng might temporarily yield. However, this time obviously the Blood Demon Emperor didn't dare to make a move against him. And after the highest mission was over, Luo Feng would enter Primal Chaos City to train hard. When he comes out again, his strength would have undergone a complete change. When that time comes, with his armor and many other methods, he would naturally have the confidence to deal with danger. Isn't it just a Blood Demon Emperor? If one doesn't even have the courage to face danger, how would he have the right to become a strong warrior? Luo Feng thought. When to endure, when to bare one's fangs, this was a matter of degree. Dylan saw that Luo Feng wasn't nervous at all, he couldn't help but say, Junior Uncle. Huh? Luo Feng was stunned. Dylan always called him His Majesty, why did he call him Junior Uncle? The path of the strong is filled with danger, you can't be careless. Dylan said anxiously, I've been ordered by my ancestor to protect you, even if you meet with danger, I can swiftly ask my teacher Bloodthirsty Emperor to rush over. However, this is only when you're at the Domain Lord level. When you reach Sector Lord level, you'll have to go adventuring in many places and experience many life and death situations, the guards will be forbidden from protecting you. When that time comes, with no one to protect you, that Blood Demon Emperor isn't someone to mess with, he might even attack you from the shadows. I'm afraid no one will even know how you die. I understand. Luo Feng nodded. You understand, yet you still mess with him like that. Dylan said. Dylan, I understand, it's too late to say anything now. All right. Luo Feng said. Dylan couldn't help but shake his head when he heard. Luo Feng was secretly grateful for Dylan's concern. However, Dylan didn't know about his trump card. Once he reached Sector Lord Pinnacle, he would immediately have 50 million mixed elements. With such a huge amount of wealth, Luo Feng naturally wouldn't waste it. He would use it to buy precious items. Like training deities of the world. Like the cloud contact vine evolving to Undying. Anyway, Luo Feng already had a rough plan in mind, along with his many bodies. Naturally he had to think of ways to make himself a true Undying cockroach. Maybe his strength wouldn't be able to go up against such a being, but his survivability would still increase. Luo Feng, there's mail. Babata's voice resounded in his mind. I think the mission completion has arrived. Luo Feng muttered, immediately sending a thread of consciousness into the Virtual Universe network. Virtual Universe Yuxiang Mountain Primal Region, Luo Feng's villa. Within the study. Luo Feng sat before his desk, gently opening the mail title on the screen. Looking at it, Luo Feng confirmed that the mail was indeed about the third round of the mission completion. The content was, you've completed the third round with the highest points. Through the evaluation of many members, Luo Feng, your third round is 100%, you've obtained 300,000 points, you have the right to proceed on the fourth round. Looking at this paragraph, Luo Feng and Babata were shocked. A 100% completion rate? It was actually this high, it was simply too exaggerated. This 100% completion obviously meant that Luo Feng's performance on Blood Demon Planet from start to finish had satisfied the upper echelons of the virtual universe company. This made Luo Feng suspicious. He guessed that his completion rate was high, but 100% was a bit over the top. After which, Luo Feng lowered his head to look at the comments. Commentary: the Blood Demon King lowered himself to receive you and held an extravagant banquet for you. This formless pressure, along with the Blood Demon King's infamy, yet Luo Feng, you still dared to sentence those 21 people to death. This is indeed commendable. You're still able to persevere under so many threats. You'd rather break than bend. Good, very good. I hope you will continue to stand by yourself. Luo Feng laughed when he saw this comment. What do you mean? Babata shrieked. This comment seems to be very satisfied with what you've done. Why is it satisfied? Because I'd rather break than bend, perfectly completing the virtual universe company's mission. Luo Feng's eyes gleamed, smiling. I finally understand. Understand what? Babata was confused. You still don't know much about human nature. Luo Feng shook his head. On Earth, Luo Feng was once a higher up, hence it was easy for him to look at things from a higher point of view. What did the upper echelons of the virtual universe company need? They needed subordinates. Even if those Emperor-level Undyings were still the subordinates of the knights, even if one day they became the high and mighty knights of the universe. However, above those knights, there were still absolute beings like the primal Chaos City leader and other pinnacle beings. Anyway, the true boss was the person at the very top. As for the people below, they were there to do the work. I nurture geniuses. For them to become Emperor-level Undyings is already not bad. As for becoming a universe knight, the chances are terrifyingly low, hence this highest point mission is actually a mission to select the subordinates. Luo Feng thought, if I were the upper echelon, I would naturally hope for my subordinates to complete the mission with determination. If they retreat at the first sign of danger or retreat at the first sign of trouble, they wouldn't even be able to complete the mission given by the upper echelon. Rather break than bend. To the upper echelon, they would definitely hope for their subordinates to be loyal dogs. Luo Feng smiled. Just like the famous officials and generals of Earth's China history, they were all incomparably loyal. They would rather die than bend when faced with danger. Naturally, these were the kind of subordinates the upper echelon liked. Talented, loyal, rather break than bend. This was what a good subordinate was. In truth, these types of people were hard to find. Many absolute geniuses were self-centered, judging the situation and retreating when faced with danger. They would rather lower their heads when faced with danger, etc. However, if they lowered their heads, they would naturally go against some of the mission requirements of the virtual universe company. Hence, the evaluation of this mission was very easy. If Luo Feng let the two Undyings go, the completion rate would definitely be lower than 80%. The evaluation of Luo Feng would also leave behind words like overly protective, cowardly like a mouse, unable to be entrusted with heavy responsibilities. If Luo Feng killed one Undyings, the other would be heavily punished. He would barely pass 80%. And what Luo Feng did now was 100%. Luo Feng was someone who was incomparably decisive, brave and diligent. Even against threats, he rarely lowered his head. Unless he met a truly undefeatable threat, only then would he yield. Luo Feng, take a look at the fourth round of the mission. Babata shouted, there's still a mail. Luo Feng smiled and closed the mail. The highest point mission has a total of 4 rounds. The further it goes, the more vicious it gets. The third round is already tough enough. I wonder what the fourth round will be like. The first round was only 100,000 points. The second round was 200,000 points. The third round was 300,000 points. The fourth round seemed like it was 400,000 points. However, as the final round, it would probably have the biggest influence on the final reward. The highest was 1 million. Hence the importance of the fourth round was obvious. Luo Feng gently opened the mail. The fourth round is the final round of the highest point mission. It's also the most important part of the evaluation. I hope Luo Feng will carefully execute this mission. Mission background. Ever since Luo Feng rose up, even becoming the supervisor envoy of the Gangwu department, his family Luo Feng's position has been getting higher and higher. There were hundreds of thousands of members of the Luo clan. Including the many wives who had married into the clan, the Luo clan had more than 1 million members. Although there were family rules, those descendants were scattered throughout the universe. It was unrealistic for the Luo family to completely monitor them. With so many people, there will naturally be parasites. Mission details. 21 members of the Luo family have been determined to be guilty. They will now be judged by Luo Feng. The results can be death penalty, 100 years in prison, 10,000 years in prison, or not guilty. If it's a death sentence, Luo Feng, you will personally carry it out. These 21 sinners are. Luo Feng's expression was already green. He continued to look at the list. Luo Fuxin, Luo Feng's 15th generation descendant, using the Luo family's influence to run the energy business. Encountering business rivals, whether it's assassination or framing, he once massacred a family of thousands in one night, and the Gangwu universe country's many departments were afraid of Luo Feng's position as the supervisor envoy, so they didn't dare investigate anything related to the Luo family. Luo Yuqian, Luo Feng's 9th descendant. Luo Yurong, Luo Feng's 9th descendant. Luo Fangqiong, Luo Feng's 12th descendant. Luo Honghua, Luo Feng's father. Luo Feng was initially sitting at his desk. As he slowly stood up, his expression became more and more green, especially when he saw the 21 names. His gaze was filled with madness. Especially when he saw the last person on the list, Luo Honghua. Luo Feng fiercely slammed the desk. The desk exploded, the laptop screen immediately split apart. Damn! Luo Feng's expression was savage as he roared. 21. Luo Feng's expression was savage, laughing softly. Ruthless enough, I just punished 21 sinners on Blood Demon Star. He immediately gave me the fourth part of the mission. I had to punish 21 people, but almost all of them were my descendants. The last one was actually my father. Forced? That's really forced. Luo Feng gritted his teeth. I admit these 21 people are indeed guilty of the death penalty, but what about my father? My father plays virtual reality games all day, yet he was still accused by you all. The family was huge, including the women. There were over 1 million of them. Such a large family, there would definitely be parasites. However, putting Luo Honghua on the list of 21 made Luo Feng furious. Who was that? That was his father. The father who raised him. How could Luo Feng forget back then when he lived in a cheap rental house, his father working hard to support the family? According to the things the virtual universe company pulled out, if he was brought to court for trial, the trial would be harsh. Even if he didn't die, he would be thrown in jail for 10,000 years, etc. However, Luo Feng was very clear on his father's character. Obviously, his father had unintentionally become someone else's target. Actually, with the virtual universe company's investigative abilities, they would definitely find out that his father was being used. However, the virtual universe company just didn't investigate carefully, or didn't provide more detailed information. This way, the 21 people on the list all had huge crimes, their statuses were different, hence their limits were different too. Like an Emperor-level Undying, even if he slaughtered over 100 billion people on 10 planets, he wouldn't be punished. However, for normal people, under normal laws, even if they killed a universe citizen, they would be sentenced to death. Dad. Luo Feng gripped his fists. Luo Feng, what are you preparing to do? Babata muttered on his shoulder. Before on Blood Demon Star, you executed all 21 sinners. Now the virtual universe company has created 21 criminals in your Luo family. Damn, look, these 21 are all surnamed Luo. They're obviously doing it on purpose to make things difficult for you, and even put your father on the list. How are you going to judge him? How will I judge? Luo Feng's eyes burned with flames, laughing coldly. How do you think I'll judge? Powerful, the virtual universe company is indeed powerful. They actually gave me this as the fourth round of the mission, and they even want me to judge my father. Luo Feng clearly remembered the details of the 21 criminals in the mission, of which his father Luo Honghua's details. He remembered every single word clearly. His father's crime was to kill many universe citizens with a high position. Of course his father didn't do it himself. One had to know that his father had always been on Earth, playing virtual games all day. Naturally he couldn't do it himself. The information provided by the virtual universe company was, Luo Honghua was a hardcore gamer of one of the top 10 virtual games, Blue Snow World. Virtual games had a huge influence in humanity's 1008 universe countries. Because to become an absolute warrior, only one universe level would emerge from an army of thousands. The chances of a sector lord being born was pitifully low. Hence many who couldn't progress on their path to become strong, felt that life had no goals, were from rich families, were free from work. These all chose to play virtual games. 100% virtual, the feeling was exactly like the real thing. Even if one couldn't become a universe level in reality, they could become an absolute warrior in the virtual games. Still, with a single call they could dominate the world. How carefree would that be? The virtual game industry was actually a very developed industry. Its audience was huge, naturally the competition was intense. And the games created by the virtual universe company took up the majority of the market share, of which Blue Snow World was one of the top 10 virtual games. The online player population of the universe citizens at its peak was comparable to a third of a universe country's citizen population. With so many players, the rewards within Blue Snow World were naturally shocking. Luo Honghua. With Luo Feng as his son, he was naturally a rich gamer. The son casually gave his father some money, and that was comparable to a sector lord's entire wealth. And the true warriors only played virtual games for fun. Training to increase their own strength was the most important. This Luo Honghua had money to support him, second was his passion, third was his talent in games, and fourth was that Luo Feng had groomed his father to a universe level, that reaction speed etc. made him far ahead of many other players. Naturally he was having a good time. Luo Honghua built a guild called Nirvana. The guild grew very quickly, shockingly quickly. However, Sangshui World had players all over the 1008 universe countries. Many of them were families with no future, yet they had enough money to spare. These players who had suffered in real life fought in the virtual game. Therefore, the competition between the large number of guilds in the virtual game was extremely fierce. That was why, by getting rid of some scourges in the real world, for example by getting rid of the guild leader in the real world, the guild would naturally collapse and disband. Even though the virtual universe company wouldn't divulge the information of the players, players would still accidentally divulge their information in their daily interactions. There were also many players who called their friends to roam the universe with. If one of them leaked the information, everyone else would be exposed as well. During the growth of the Nirvana Union, there were thousands of assassinations in reality. Moreover, several of them were extremely bloody. As the president of the Nirvana Union, Luo Honghua naturally had to bear the main responsibility. Stupid. Luo Feng was enraged. He was about to go crazy. Father was a normal worker back then. He didn't even go to school when he was young and went through the great nirvana. After that, he worked hard to take care of me and my brother. He didn't know how to scheme, lived a simple life and didn't receive a good education. He's not cut out to be a president. How could Luo Feng not be clear about his father's character? Messing around, back then he was a hard worker doing manual labor, playing virtual games was all based on his deeply buried dreams. How could his father understand the hidden dangers within? The highest number of online players is close to a third of the universe country's population. What kind of concept is that? At its peak, 1 out of 3,000 universe citizens played this game. Luo Feng had tried playing virtual games before. Every game was simply a whole new world. It was indeed very attractive. A game with so many players, how much profit would it make? With profit there would be all sorts of schemes and plots. The Nirvana Union's rapid growth and shockingly fast? Just relying on Father to grow the Union so quickly in a game with countless elites, that's not very possible. If Father had such foresight, such skill, he wouldn't have had to do manual labor for over 20 years back then. Luo Feng's eyes gleamed. Maybe it's because Father has money, or maybe it's because he knows Father's identity. He thinks the Ganwu Department Supervisor Envoy Father, this identity is powerful enough. Hence they all enter the Nirvana Union Father built. The Ganwu Department Supervisor Envoy. A big figure. To the gamers, this kind of universe country's top 10 super big shot was definitely a high and mighty being. Such a big shot's father playing games and building a union being under him, naturally having money and power made things easier. Virtual Universe, Black Dragon Mountain Island 9-star Bay. Luo Feng's house. Pass down the order. Luo Feng ordered, quickly capture these 20 people, don't let a single one of them escape. Saying that, he slammed a piece of paper on the table. What's making you so unhappy? Su Xian picked up the paper and looked. There were 20 names on the paper. Luo Fuxin, Luo Yuqian, Luo Yurong. Su Xian looked shocked at Luo Feng after reading, asking curiously, why do you want to capture 20 of them? These 20 all have their own businesses, and they're considered the most outstanding of our Luo family's younger generation. Their businesses are doing well, 3 of them I'm preparing to absorb into the family's important businesses. Summon them? Luo Feng said coldly, don't say any more, hurry and arrange for these 20 to be captured. Remember, none of them can escape. All right. Su Xian didn't ask any further and immediately went to arrange. These few years, Su Xian had been managing the family's internal affairs. In terms of management, she was indeed very strong. Also, capture these 20 and bring them to Qianhua Planet. Luo Feng said coldly, I'll reach Qianhua Planet within 3 days. Luo Feng had never been so angry during the previous 3 missions. He was either angry at the younger generation for not living up to expectations, or angry at the virtual universe company for intentionally arranging such a task for him. The raging Luo Feng didn't want to take his time from the ancient Luan universe country, sitting in a ship and slowly flying back. Instead, he relied on Dylan's swift God country transfer back to the Milky Way, and then headed towards Qianhua Planet. Black Dragon Mountain Empire Dragon Star. Within a luxurious mansion, almost everyone who came and went were rich and powerful. The owner of this mansion was called Luo Fuxin, and he was a newly risen energy merchant within the Black Dragon Mountain Empire. The energy industry was originally a profiteering industry, and the threshold was extremely high. And this Luo Fuxin was someone no one dared to mess with. Even the empire's royal family enthusiastically supported him. Lord Luo, Lord Luo. A sharp voice resounded. A skinny, skeleton-like middle-aged man in a luxurious golden robe walked into the mansion with a large group of women behind him. At the same time he shouted loudly. Suddenly, a person walked out from the distant corridor. It was a young man with a rather handsome face. He was similarly dressed in luxurious and exquisite clothing. He also laughed loudly and said, It's Katas. My dear Katas, I missed you so much. Oh, let me see the group of beautiful ladies behind. The noble youth's eyes gleamed as he looked at the group of beauties from various races. Lord Luo, these are the absolute beauties from the various races that I've painstakingly searched through 10 starfields for you. The skeletal middle-aged man laughed slyly. He was very clear on the strength of the youth before him. Even the Ganwu Department's business department head had to respect the supervisor envoy. And the Ganwu Department's business department head could be said to be the most terrifying big shot in the entire Ganwu universe country's business industry. Whoever offended that business department head could forget about doing business, hence he naturally had to curry favor with this youth before him. He didn't see. The various departments didn't dare to extort from this youth. Those who dared to go against him, all of them had died. The noble youth carefully looked at the beauties from various races, simultaneously praising, My dear Katas, I'm really grateful to you. The energy crystals you need, I can give you a 25% increase. 25%. Spending so much effort to get this much, what a stingy bastard. Even though the skeletal middle-aged man was cursing inside, on the surface he was filled with a grateful smile, saying, Lord Luo, you're really too generous. If you have such a request, just let me know, I'll definitely try my best to fulfill it. Rumble. 3 beams of light suddenly shot down from the sky. Who is it? You dare barge into the Luo family. An explosive roar resounded from within the mansion. A group of universe-level slave guards all rushed out. However, the 3 beams of light landed right in front of the noble youth, releasing their powerful auras. 3 domain lords. The skeletal middle-aged man's heart trembled. The number 1 warrior of the low-level empire Silver Blue Empire had only just reached Domain Lord level 2. And now 3 Domain Lords had suddenly appeared. Who are you? You dare barge into my Luo family mansion. Luo Fuxin, under the orders of the head, we're officially arresting you. One of the 3 Domain Lords immediately took out a tag and grabbed the terrified Luo Fuxin. So, they immediately broke through space and left. I'm Luo Yuqian, you dare arrest me, you're looking to die. I'm a disciple of the Luo family, who are you? The Ganwu Department Supervisor Envoy is the head of the Luo family, you dare arrest me. The Luo family disciples were even more powerful than the Black Dragon Mountain Empire's Imperial family disciples, and these 20 were all considered powerful within the family, their methods vicious and their achievements great. However, when they found out the family had sent people to arrest them, they were all dumbfounded. Rumble. The blood-colored triangular universe ship became a beam of light and rushed straight into the atmosphere of a planet in the Milky Way, Qianhua planet. Within the ship's control room, Luo Feng's eyes were cold as he gazed down at the planet, almost as though he was looking at the imprisoned family disciples.